Good morning, good morning. We are changing up our formwork a little bit today. We're also going to be servicing the forms, so we found that some of the hardware that we used isn't quite holding up to the impact of the rammer, so we're going to be going through and checking all the hardware as well as replacing some of it. The other thing we are doing is we're increasing the total height of the form. So up to this point, our forms have been 12 foot of form with an extra foot on top, which allows for space to both lift it with a pair of forks on the telehandler, and it allows space so the top cross piece is not in the way when you ram all the way up to the top. So we are going to be building the forms from 12 feet all the way up to 24 feet with a 1 foot spacer on top. So that will allow us to build all the way to the second story all at once. The previous time we did a second story, we actually used the same forms, mounted a beam up, but we found that to be much more complex and difficult to get the forms tight against the existing wall. So we're trying it this way now. So here we go. Essentially what we're going to do is pull off the 4 foot section of this form and then add a whole 8 foot section, which will overhang by 3 feet. And then we're going to build out the formwork because we're going to do 3 8 foot sections. That'll give us a 24 foot tall form because the highest point of our roof goes to 22.5 feet. So that is going to be plenty to get in there and do that. Let's get after it. We have 8 pieces, which gives us a total 8 pieces at 4 foot wide by 12 foot tall, 4 foot wide. Our plan was to be able to go 4, 8, 12, 16, but we found that a 16 foot lift would be much too thin because our mixing bucket will only mix so much dry material. And so what we found is the 12 foot long form is about as long as we can go.
So basically, we originally made 8 forms.
Yes.
That were 4 feet wide by 12 feet tall.
Yes.
We are turning those into 6
25 foot tall forms.
4 foot wide
by 25
by
feet.
25
Correct.
foot tall.
Yep.
24. Well, 24 of board.
Yeah, 24 of form and 20 with an extra foot on top for
Right.
spacing. A few of the things that we found did not work well were we used thinner gauge screws right here. All of them did hold up, but we are going to be replacing them with 12 gauge diameter. So these are, I believe, a 14 or a 16 gauge diameter. We're going to be replacing them with a 12 just for safety's sake. The other thing that we found didn't work were these. So this is how we secured the board or the wood to the steel, and we found that even though that is an inch, these 3/4 inch plywood, there's often not quite enough meat there to grab the steel underneath. So we're going to be replacing these with these guys because apparently they only come in 2 sizes, small and way too big. So we're going to go way too big. These are also, you'll notice, a little bit thicker because the other thing we had was these screws that hold the boards in actually were shearing and breaking. So we're going to replace all of these with these big ones, and that will hold the wood to the form a lot harder and decrease the amount of breaking that we saw, because the boards would actually break and then this would like lift off the form and kind of chatter. The materials here, for everyone who's been asking, this is 16 gauge steel studs. These are 6-inch studs, and then this is 6-inch track that goes with these. This is 12 foot 16 gauge C-channel. Yeah, we got these from a company called Cowtown Materials. They're local here in East Texas. But any steel manufacturer for construction materials will likely have these. But they're 16 gauge. We went with the thicker gauge rather than like an 18 or something like that, which they also make studs in 18. So if you're going to be building these, make sure you get the thicker stuff because this is about as light as you can get that will still hold up against the rammers. All right, this is what the material looks like brand new. This is called MDO, medium density overlay. So this is a very slick surface, and it's like MDF, but MDF is medium density fiber, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
This is overlay. So if you notice the back side of this, this is just a paper back with 3/4 inches of plywood, and then a really smooth finish overlay. This material is shockingly tough. We've hit it with the rammers quite a few times, and other than a few breakouts here and there, this stuff just takes a beating and keeps coming.
These are our forms that we've been using thus far. And we have, where we've put screw holes in, we've got some minor issues. Here at the bottom, you can tell they get...
And these have also been left out in the rain. East Texas rain, which is a lot for those,
humidity.
And humidity, and they are just functioning fantastic. I've been very impressed with this material. They probably won't last forever. They probably won't last the whole project. At some point we'll have to reface all of our forms, but it's as simple as pulling the plywood off, or the MDO off, and putting new MDO on. It'll go relatively quick to resurface them. It's kind of expensive. I want to say, I think for a pallet of these, which is, I think it's like 40 of these, was about $2,000 US, for those who are wondering pricing. And we ordered them from just a local wood supplier. They were able to get them in, and we got it by the pallet. So that's about what you're looking at for this stuff. You could theoretically use plywood, but you would see the few times that we've used plywood for like a small form piece, you actually see the grains of the wood come through in the rammed. So we prefer to use the MDO because it gives a nice clean finish to the rammed earth rather than seeing vertical striping from the plywood. If you have another question, leave it down in the comment below. Comment below.
Oh, the other thing we learned the first time is you want these as precise as possible,
Yeah.
but absolutely not bigger.
Yeah. Can you give me a kick on that end? Just to get it in further. I think that's as good as we're going to get. All right. Here we go! All right, so now I'm gonna take this whole thing and flip it. So, yeah, go ahead and line that up. Exactly. So now that is, theoretically, one piece. So to connect the plywood to the metal, we're using these plywood to metal screws. 2.5 inch is apparently, you either get 2.5 inch or 1 5/8. Nothing in between. 2.5 inch is a little long, 1 5/8 is a little short. Go with a little long. So yeah. I'm going to put this corner in.
Okay.
Then we're going to square it up.
Okay.
Put that corner in. Then we'll go
Work our way around.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That. Is it even on that side?
My foot was not sufficient.
I know I'm scooting the frame over. That's okay. Oh, there we go. There, right there. That's where it needs to be. Give me a little bit more. Let's overlap just a teeny. That's exactly what we needed. So what was happening was it was racked. The whole thing was racked like this a little. So we just unracked it.
Cool.
Yeah. That's exactly what we needed right there. All right. Hey, and we caught them both. Look at that.
Nice.
So that's now flush. Those two are screwed to that. I think we're good. Yeah, that's the other trick we found. When driving these or anything that's going plywood into metal, an impact driver is not as good as a standard drill. I don't know why. Someone, I'm sure, knows the science. I'm not one of those someones.
Just one little chip down there versus a bigger chip.
Yeah.
Can you guys spin it? I know. I'm sorry. I'm being the micromanager.
I want to go watch. I want to go watch the big tool. So, Luke has been faithfully working for the last month,
Something like that.
on getting the Bulldozer clutch assembly and brake assembly torn apart and then fixed and then put back together. So we actually ended up having to get this giant 1-inch impact. We ended up having to get this. Look at that. Huge. Where did you get that? Did you have to buy that too? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just got a set.
Wait, so we have a full set?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes!
like from 1.25 up to 2.5 inches.
Oh, yes, sir! Oh, that's going to make changing cylinders and stuff easy too. Oh, you wonderful,
And they're
wonderful.
great seal drivers.
Yeah,
Used almost all of them now for seal drivers.
you can drive seals. Yeah, anyway, Luke's been working on that, so that's why you don't see him working on the forms today, because he is almost ready to drop this thing into the Bulldozer.
Yeah.
And we'll have a working Bulldozer, because the Bulldozer clutch pack and brake assembly seized on one side, so it can only turn in circles. But now, our 50-year-old Bulldozer is getting a brand new clutch pack, brake pack. We're going to take all the water out of the oil, I know, which is kind of a weird concept, but apparently you're just supposed to use oil, not water and oil for lubrication. And yeah, we're going to solve, for the most part, we're going to solve all kinds of problems on that thing. And it should be running not quite like the day it rolled off the assembly room floor, but pretty close.
Pretty darn close. As if it were only a 20-year-old machine instead of a 50-year-old.
Instead of a 50-year-old machine, exactly. Yeah, we're taking 30 years off that.
Yeah, we're just looking at the fact that that's quite a form.
Should we double check that measurement? Probably fine, right?
Hold, please.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. All right, we're gonna do the sides and the center.
And then we're going to try to lift this thing and see how it goes. What I think we're going to end up doing is making straps with hooks that will hook to the side little holes. And that way we can lift on either side of the pivot point in the center. So the pivot point's in the center, but there's not a ton of weight on it. So that way we can lift them sideways, but then when we stand them up, that's where I'm nervous the breaking point's going to be, but we'll find out. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, well. Yeah, that's a lot of flex, isn't it?
Yeah, you can put some more screws in that, because, yeah, that's very little holding all that thing. I got this. Go ahead and...
Yeah. I think I'll do them tight. I'll do them every, foot, I think.
You're gonna do some of the front and some of the back.
Yeah. This will help.
True.
This will rigidify this quite a bit. Rigidify is the technical term. Yep, that's definitely better, but we're still going to be too floppy. I have an idea. It is going to be strongest corner to corner. So, if we flip it up on its side and then rotate it up, that's going to be its strongest point.
Yeah.
And then once it's up, we have to leave them up. we're not going to be able to store them laying down. The other thing I'm wondering, that'd be interesting.
You gotta tell me before I can respond.
What if once we had them vertical and had 3 stacked together, we left them together and lifted them with the telehandler with hooks to lift the whole thing and just slide it to the next wall and set it down.
Yeah.
The telehandler will have no problem lifting this.
Yeah, if we anchor in from the side,
But that's a lot less forming to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I think what we thought about was if we leave the 3 sections of form attached, the next 3 walls we have to do, we need all 3 sections of formwork. And if we leave all 3 attached and move it as one framed wall, it'll be easier than trying to lower and bring everything down. Because honestly, I think the only way we're going to be able to like move these realistically is to effectively detach this top piece.
Right.
And move it in 2 pieces. I think that's the only way we're going to move them individually. It's just too floppy. It's solid enough that if it's standing upright, it'll be okay. But laying down, it's too floppy. There's too much variation.
We can try it on the, because we have 3 walls to finish out the garage. So once we get it set up for our first wall, that's one set. And then when we move it to the second one, we'll be figuring everything out. And then on the third wall, at that point, we can decide, no, this is way too much, or yes, this is working because now we got our groove.
Yeah.
We're going to hit a point this winter where we have to stop forming for a while. Because we just can't ram because of the weather.
Right. We'll be able to lean the forms against the walls.
Against one of the existing walls? Okay.
So the question is, do we think we can get this airborne?
Yeah. I think we can. I think, like you said, though, once it's up, I mean, how? Just pick it up.
Just pick it up?
Just pick it up. Well, what we could do is instead of grabbing from down here, we throw straps right here or here, and we pick up from right here.
Yep.
And then...
Yeah. No, you're right. That's exactly how. I think you're right, because if we lift from either here or here, probably here actually, and then we'll probably have to help this side up a little.
Maybe
not.
Actual specs from Pettibone to see what kind of angle they say is appropriate at height.
Pull forward and pull in because we're going to transport it flat.
Oh, yeah. Let's just walk it over there.
So what's the new plan?
The new plan is we're going to transport it flat because my safety officer over here decided that the boom was too tall, that at that height, being at an angle, an uneven surface, the boom might have a tendency to collapse a little.
No, I was going to say, I don't even need to pull in. I can just pull into the side of the wall and set it down anywhere in there that you want.
The orientation that we lay it down in is going to make a difference in how easy it is to get it up. If we're going to do the north-south running wall next, which we are, yes, then we would like it as much as possible either in the orientation it's in or 180 degrees.
Correct. You are correct. So essentially what we decided is these form pieces are heavy enough that we need large equipment to move them anyway. So why not just make them even bigger and heavier, and the equipment doesn't care much. And so what we'll do is we're essentially going to lay 3 25-foot form pieces down all together, screw them all together so they're flat against the pad, which hopefully is mostly level. Screw them all together and then lift it as one big giant formed wall into place, and then do that again, screw those two together with turnbuckles and stuff holding them up. And then when we pull forms, all we do is we pull the form off, scoot it over as one big unit. We think that'll work. And it's only because we're doing such tall walls at this point that screwing together forms way up high in the air over and over and over again, it's kind of just a matter of time before I fall off of something. So really, this is a safety issue. We're doing sketchy things for safety. Right? All right.
Can we make a shirt out of that?
Doing sketchy things for safety. Just my face with a thumbs up. So we're going to do sketchy things for safety. And the only reason it's sketchy is because it's way heavier, but I think this actually is a safer way to do it, because we'll be relying on the equipment to lift things and get things into place, and not the strength of us.
And you can have a fly line to stand away from the giant object.
Yes. Yep. So I think this is actually a better way to do it. But if not, stay tuned.
It could be an adventure.
As we undo everything we just did. Yeah.
So the plan is lift that end with that.
Yeah. Drive it over there and drop it.
We're putting this under this end.
Uh-huh. Don't fly. Gorilla carts for the win!
What did you do, Luke? You need help?
This is easier. Just
Did you? Is this easier?
I think it got hung up on a rock.
Well, that's it for today. We built out one form. We came up with a quasi plan for when we fly the next set of forms, and we're going to call it for today. We won't.
Hold on. You have to explain this before we go, because I can't have this in the footage. And
There was a fuel leak in that car, and the fuel leak was at the very back of the fuel tank. So if you park it at an angle, the fuel leak goes away. So we're waiting on a fuel tank for that. That is Luke's car, a car that he's had for a while. It has some transmission issues, so he's going to be working on that probably tomorrow, actually.
so it's tilted because of the gas leak.
Yeah, there's a fuel leak. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. That's it for today. Thanks for joining our adventure.